Now, when most people think about wood burning, they think that the material is actually on fire, but in reality, what's burning are the gases that are being produced by the wood being heated. Does that make sense? In preparation of some upcoming episodes where I go more in-depth into house fires, and since most house fires are based off of wood, I decided to recreate the most common component of a wood fire by building a see-through wood gas generator. I want to make sure that everybody understands one of the most common components of most house fires, wood gas.
The main gases that come off of wood when it's heated are going to be hydrogen and carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide has a wider flammable range than propane. The process of burning wood is called pyrolysis. The process of pyrolyzation begins with applying a heat source to the wood. As you're heating the wood, you're going to start heating it up to the point where moisture starts coming out of it. Once the moisture's out of it, then it starts breaking down the wood on a cellular level at the sugar level. With the sugars off-gassing flammable gases, the more heat you apply to that piece of wood, the more gases are going to start becoming off-gassed, which is going to be your ignitable mixtures if there's a spark or a heat source available. And oxygen, the fire triangle, heat, oxygen, and a fuel source.
This burner right here is going to be the heat source. It's going to heat up this beaker, which is our chamber with the wood inside. The gas is then going to travel up through our transfer tube down into, I guess you can call this my filter, or it's kind of like a distiller. But what this is going to do is this is going to separate the gas from the solid compounds that are in the smokes. And then we're going to be able to burn purified wood gas right here at this nozzle. In order to start the process, the only thing we have to do is turn on this burner. There's the moisture you were talking about. Okay, so it looks like we got some gas coming out. I can see the smoke crawling through that transfer tube. So I'm going to just turn up the heat right now and see if we get some more off-gassing. So at this point, yeah, we're off-gassing pretty good. We're ready to light it. Chris was just saying that in that tube is not only water, but also acids, hydrocarbons, and other stuff. So I'll light it and see what happens. Wow, it actually worked, huh? All the stains are burned sugars.
Like when you caramelize onions and stuff, how they get that brown kind of gooey mess, that's what that is.
So you can see here that we don't have the smoke coming out, we just have moisture and wood gas. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to pull this plug and light it straight from the actual container without all that moisture. So this here is going to be the undistilled smoke. Let me just get my protection here so I look safe. The particulate from the smoke is actually just separating and falling right to the bottom of the flask.
And you can see that your smoke is distinctly cleaner coming out of the tube versus where it's coming up out of the chamber. It's got a yellowish tint, but because the solids and the heavy particulates are falling out, when it comes out of the tube, it's white, clean smoke.
Yeah, that makes sense. Look at that. This is about 5 minutes later. It's got a lot hotter. And it's funny because if you look at the bottom of this flask here, you can see all that sediment drop to the bottom. It kind of looks like feces almost, and it's still dropping. But anyway, this is 5 minutes later. I'm going to try to light it now. There you go. Oh, it went out. It's almost self-sustaining. And it worked. That's pretty cool. It's not quite see-through anymore, but at least it works. And that, what's burning there is wood gas. Chris was saying that everything that's black inside of here now, this is all the caramel and the sugars that have been burned and all the carbon that's left over from the sugars. And that's why this is all black. Now, we put the plug in the transfer tube and it looks super cool right here the way the smoke's going in there. I'm gonna try to light it. Oh yeah, see? It has too much moisture now. Oh, it almost stays lit.
So what's happening there, Matt, is the smoke is getting cooled off by the water, lowering the temperature of it, so it's dropping it below its ignition temperature. If it was hotter gas coming through there, it wouldn't drop off as much, and when you lit it, it would stay lit.
The gas is getting cooled below its flash point. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Kind of smells like a Cuban cigar. That makes sense because like when you guys put out fires, the first thing you try to do is cool it, right? And that's the reason you try to cool it, because if you cool it, then it's not gonna light up that easy anymore. And look at how much pressure that thing has at the top of this. Holy cow. It looks like it's all burned out. And I took my mask off. There's really no danger of it exploding now. There's no pressure in the vessel anymore. What this means is that there's no more fuel left in the wood that we're heating up. Yeah, I'm surprised it worked. This was definitely a good example of how wood creates gas, which then burns and creates fire. After we tried to light the wood gas that went through the water, that wood gas was cooled. And that's the exact same reason that when they're fighting a fire, the first thing they do is try to cool everything down.
We hit the ceiling with the hose streams to cool the ceiling temperatures, which is where all that gas is accumulating. So we cool that so that it won't light up above us, and then we work down to the base of the fire and eliminate the entire heat source.
And this was a good example of that, because coming out of that top transfer tube was basically like the top of the fire. All the hot gases above their flash point, and it lights right up. As soon as we put that through this filter, cool those gases down below their flash point, they don't light as easy. It's all cooled down now, and I'm really curious to see what's inside of here, because we know all the fuel is gone. So let's open this up. Wow, look at all that tar. It's like actual tar. Check that out. That's crazy. And let's see what's inside. Yeah, look at that. Look inside there. It's all charcoal. Actually, I think it's even lighter than charcoal. There's definitely no more fuel left in that wood. Oh, look at that. Petrified. It's really light. There's like literally nothing. And the grain is well preserved. Kind of reminds me of a crow. Looks like my see-through wood gas generator actually worked. And this was a cool project, but apart from that, I think this gave us a really good example of why firefighters attack a fire from the ceiling down. At the ceiling, that's the hottest part of the fire, and that's where all of the wood gas is being generated. Makes sense. That's about it. This came out pretty good. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and thanks to Chris for giving me the idea to do this, because it was based off of a conversation I had with him one day that I came up with the idea to do this. He told me about wood gas, how it's very dangerous for firefighters and it creates backdrafts, stuff like that. And off of that, next thing you know, a few days later, he showed up here and I had this whole thing set up. So he helped me out with the project. And that being said, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Adios. any risk of explosion there?
In the situation that we're trying to replicate, there's always a risk of explosion. Of course, we're taking our safety precautions seriously here just to eliminate that. But anytime you're having heat and fuel, if we introduce oxygen at the wrong place or at the wrong time and complete that fire triangle, there definitely is a chance that something could go wrong. So we will be extra careful.